Aloha! Today I bring you Experiment 626, but you guys may know him as Stitch. Today I'm going to teach you about the circumference of a design area, how to blend in and outside of the design, where to blend, and how to take your skills to new heights. Today we're going to talk about the tools and utensils that I use to execute the designs here on my channel. Not only on what tools I use, but how to use them. Not only am I going to help you sharpen your design skills, but I'm going to teach you a couple things that you would use on a regular, basic, average haircut. With that being said, let's grab our clippers, turn them on, and get to cutting. This is Swift Tips, Experiment 626, brought to you by the one and only Dk The Barber. Let's start with this guideline, guys. Pull the hair out of the way, whether it's with a hair tie or these Velcro hair sticky thingamajiggies. You guys will see in the video in one moment. Let's slap that 1.5 clip on there. Let's just knock off some of the bulk. We don't want the hair too long on the side, so make sure that lever on the side of the clipper is closed. Notice I end up throwing the one Wahl clip on my clippers because that 1.5 that I just threw on there was actually too long. When you're doing designs, you're gonna have to rotate and switch between clippers because each clipper has their job. So let's start off the design by figuring out the circumference. I usually don't use no stencils, pencils, or markers on my design, but today we're doing a Disney star, a favorite, okay, a fan favorite, Stitch, the one and only 626, Experiment 626. But let's hop into tip number 1, figuring out the circumference. Notice in the video I used a pencil. I actually use eyeliner pencils. They're the same ingredients that these barber shops sell with these barber pencils. Use that. I'm actually wiping it off in the video because I like to do more of a freestyle type of art. But what I did is figured out the circumference and the shape of Stitch's head. And now that I have the basics, I can go in there and do what I do best. The reason the circumference is so important because you don't want to run out of space when doing designs. Running out of space when doing complex designs like this can lead to multiple problems, such as cutting off more hair than what the client initially wanted, or running out of hair because the hair is our canvas. As a barber, we cut the hair on our client's head to create either a blend, a straight line, or designs like shown in the video. And by learning how to control the space and the circumference, you'll be better at edge ups, fades, and even designs. Notice how Stitch's right eye is at an angle. His head is tilted almost like as if he's looking right. I actually did this on purpose as a strategy to save room. Going back on this tip number 1, saving room, circumference, learning how to do this. By doing this, you'll become an overall better barber. Let's keep it pushing into tip number 2. Tip number 2 will be the tools I use and how I use them. For one, all the tools I use will be in the description below, so check that out. And I am not sponsored, nor do I have any affiliate marketing with these companies. So with that being said, these companies sponsor me. But I am a firm believer that it's not the clippers that make the barber, but actually the other way around. The barbers make the clippers, okay guys? If you give me a set of Walmart clippers, I'll make a design happen, I'll make magic happen, okay? So if you're that person at home and all you can afford is a Walmart set of clippers, don't be hard on yourself. Just start your journey. You don't have to be great at the start, but you have to start to be great. So just get started and let's hop into how I use my clippers, okay? I don't have a very complex set. All you really need is a pair of blenders, edgers, and a razor. And that's all you really need to make a really good haircut or even designs. When using your utensils such as your blending clippers, like shown in the video, your edgers, or even your razor blade, take advantage of the entire blade itself and use the corners. That's how I get some of the smaller areas with my designs, is by taking advantage of the corner of the blade. Run the video back and notice how I use my trimmers almost as if it's a pencil. Let's move the hair out of the way so we can concentrate on the hairline. Go ahead and spray some of this stuff in the hair. If you don't have none of this, use hairspray or spritz. It works in the same way. What this does is stiffen up the hair around the hairline, so when you're working with your edgers and trimmers, the hair doesn't move around or shift. The strategy I'm using in the video is actually doing the same thing, just going with the grain, knocking down all the loose ends. Go ahead and use your edgers from middle to the left, and then from the corner of the hairline, only use the blade in this area. It's very critical to get a very natural look. In my opinion, this is the most efficient way to get that 90-degree angle without pushing the hairline back. I notice most barbers, at least in my career, use the trimmers to get the 90-degree angle on the hairline, and what it does, it pushes the hairline back slowly, especially for the more frequent clients that come into the barbershop more often. The clients that come in more frequently are usually the clients that are better to have. Whether they come weekly or monthly, it's a guaranteed haircut for you and your schedule. Last but not least, I want to get into our third and final tip, but before I get into that, stay tuned to the end of the video and I'll give you guys a bonus tip. But let me go ahead and elaborate on tip number 3, adding contrast. If you go ahead and rewind the video, you'll notice I'm adding contrast throughout the entire video, whether I'm using the razor, my trimmers, or my blenders. Usually, in most cases, you're adding contrast with your blending clippers, but in some cases, you can even add flares like I did in Stitch's eyes with a razor or even the trimmers. Now, there's different ways to add contrast. Like shown in the video, I'm adding a chemical called beiging. It's a semi-permanent that dyes the hair and darkens whatever you add it to. So I'm gonna go ahead and add it to Stitch's eyes first, because that's obviously the darker point on Stitch's body. The longer you leave this stuff in, the darker it gets. Now, you don't want to leave it for too long, but it does dye not just the hair but the skin very quickly. So that's why I applied it to the eyes first. Then I'm gonna go ahead and apply it to the nose and then the rest of his body. Hey DK, what's contrast? Well, let me tell you. Contrast is when something goes from light to dark, when an element stands out from a different color. So for example, the contrast between Lilo's colors, if you watch in the show, underneath his eyes is a lighter blue than the rest of his body. So when I hit underneath his eyes with a 0.5 clip, I was lightening the hair there on purpose. So when I add the beiging around in the other areas, it's adding even more contrast to what I already did previously. Me personally, I think the design looks good even without the beiging or the colors, but I went ahead and added it anyways for the sake of the video. If you really break it down and think about it, contrast is all around us and it's in every haircut. Whether you're doing a taper, low fade, high fade, military fade, or a mohawk, even designs, contrast is everywhere. So use it to your advantage. Finally, what we all been waiting for, the aftermath. But more importantly, I want to get into the last and bonus tip, which isn't really a tip, it's more of spreading awareness for the people out there in Hawaii. Let's send all of our love, positive energy, and prayers out there to the people of Maui.